Angelina Olkhovskaya, hello, welcome virtually in Montreal. You are the screenwriter and the associate producer of stop motion and 2D animation short film, Home, directed by Anita Bruvere from England. It's a beautiful film, and it's an important film about the past, but it's also a film about the present. I will just read the synopsis which was given to us, and then so our audience can understand a little bit better what the film is about, and then we'll begin the discussion. Home is a true story of community, immigration, and diversity, told through the history of a single building. I should add, since the 18th century. Should we understand that this is a commissioned film? Because we can read at the end that the home in which the film takes place is now a museum, the Museum of Immigration and Diversity. So is it a commissioned film?
No, it was inspired by a real building, and we felt it was important, if people wanted to know more about it, that they could actually find out more about the building that inspired the film, but it wasn't commissioned by a museum. We were lucky enough to visit it. In the before times, when you could still visit places, yes, it's only opened once or twice a year because the building has never been repaired. So it's still kind of in the same state as it was when it was built in the 18th century. So they open it up for visitors very rarely, once or twice a year. And we were lucky enough to go in and be just incredibly inspired by the interior and the passion of the volunteers who look after it. So we wanted to kind of pay our dues to it, but it certainly wasn't commissioned.
Yeah. The building has welcomed Huguenot refugees, after Irish refugees, and after Jewish refugees. I understand that the building is in East London.
That's right.
Is it a coincidence that so many refugees decided to live in this building, or maybe it's because of the neighborhood? Why?
Well, refugees didn't really have a choice when they first arrived. It's kind of geographically quite close to the main entry point ports of London, and it was always a quite poor area. So it was affordable for people coming in who had very little to stay there. And obviously, this house is a kind of microcosm of the communities that were around it. So the entire area kind of East London, Spitalfields, was initially Huguenots who, for the most part, did quite well and were able to move out to more prosperous areas. The Irish who came after them, unfortunately, didn't do as well and really suffered from the plagues. And then it sat empty for a few decades. Again, history repeated itself for the third time, and East European Jewish refugees again came because the area was affordable and they could find work. And the same area now, well, the same area in the 1960s onwards has hosted refugees from Bengal, and is now in the process of being gentrified, like everywhere.
Yes, same thing is happening in Montreal. There are no real characters in the film. There are, like, I would say, ghosts figures from the past. And the art direction is really, really, really impressive. There are so many details in the sets and the props. And each segment has a specific design for the Huguenots, the Jewish people, and the Irish people. Can you tell us a little bit about this amazing work that has been done before the film? Because it's so precise.
We were really lucky. We had a production designer on board, Christina, who's incredibly talented and was really passionate about the project. We managed to get a really solid crew of essentially friends from film school who worked on the project because they believe in it for kind of quite a nominal, laughable fee. So the production designer and the director put a lot of work into researching what it would have looked like. We had some materials from the museum and some from kind of museums in the surrounding area.
Artifacts?
Some artifacts.
Yeah, yes, wow.
Yeah. So
usually museums are scared to lend their artifacts.
We had a lot of people. We're giant nerds, and I think that comes through, and people really respond to the passion. So everything you see on the screen was handmade by us. It was done in a very odd scale. I think it's 1:12, which meant that we couldn't. Sometimes you're able for stop motion to get dollhouse furniture, but we couldn't because it would have looked odd in terms of scale. So there was a huge amount of hot glue and balsa wood involved. And actually, it's quite unusual for me as a screenwriter. We were so pushed for time and resources that I ended up doing some model making as well, just to help out.
Did you actually make the film in this building?
No, again, that wouldn't have been possible. So we had a studio.
Okay, so it's a film about the past, but often we use the past to tell about the present. Is it something that you had in mind when doing the film?
Absolutely, yes. I think it was quite important for us. We ended up with, and it wasn't on purpose, but we ended up with an all-immigrant crew of first and second and third generation immigrants from all over the world, but who could all respond on an emotional level to the story of different communities of outsiders coming to Britain and struggling to make it a home. So it actually, even though it's a film about the past, it became quite personal for all of us. And also, you will notice in the film there are a few archive shots of newspapers. These are genuine newspapers from the 19th century. And what struck me when I was doing the research was, how much kind of actually contemporary pushback against migration that we see now has echoes in the very, very, very distant past. And the discourse was the same, against Irish immigrants 200 years ago as it is now.
I understand that the film is now doing the festival run, but also do you have like a target audience? Because I think that the film should be seen, it's important.
We want it to be seen kind of as widely as possible. So it's doing the festivals now, and we're trying to get it out online and to broadcasters.
Okay. And can you tell us about maybe a future project? Will you still be working with Anita?
So Anita and I work really well together. It's kind of, at a stage of almost finishing up each other's sentences, which is quite, we're still starting out our careers, but it's quite rare to find somebody who brings out your best ideas and vice versa. So we're developing a graphic novel at the moment with me writing and her illustrating. Okay.
Thank you very much, Angelina, and thank you, Anita, for this important and relevant film. We're really looking forward to show it here. Thank you for taking the time to have this brief discussion with us. Please stay safe, and we hope to be able to welcome you in Montreal in the near future.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much, and enjoy the film. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Marco. Bye.
Bye.